see trees green, red roses too. I watch them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Last few skies are blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day and the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I see babies cry, I'll watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Happy Sunday, everyone. That's Betty.
So nice to hear live music, isn't it? I'm waiting for that first concert that I have every year. On my birthday, I would always go somewhere, or Deanna would take me, and to just get back to that music and being present is just amazing. And you know, it's just great being up here. My name is Kurt. I'm your practitioner in service today. Looks like I know just about everybody here. But it's a pleasure to be in service, and I just welcome you all. And our theme for the month is the pathway of renewal. And I don't know if everybody knows this or not, but it's pretty fascinating. But our bodies renew every cell in our body every 7 years. So we are a living renewal process, and we're being called, I think, in life to move from being established in ego and moving to that higher place in ourselves, to living from our souls, and we're being called to that. And that process is a renewal process. And so I just want to celebrate that today in each of you and in myself. I just know that we're divinely guided. And so with that, why don't you join me in prayer? And so as we just take this moment and bring ourselves to just pay attention to our breath, and to that beating of our heart, knowing that as this time this morning we've joined together as a community with that divine idea being the Hilltop Center, knowing that all that unfolds here this morning through the music, Reverend Guy's words, my words, and also in that energetic connection that we get to experience in this time together, which is a renewal process. As we've been out during the week, living our lives, having that all unfolding, but we come back together here this morning, and we get to renew that deep, unabiding faith in that divine idea that is my life, that is each of our lives. And so for this time together this morning, I'm truly grateful, and I just give thanks, and together we say, and so it is. And so our reading comes from Rebecca Del Rio in the form of a poem. Come new to this day, remove the rigid overcoat of experience, the notion of knowing, the beliefs that cloud your vision. Leave behind the stories of your life. Spit out the sour taste of unmet expectation. Let the stale scent of what-ifs waft back into the swamp of your useless fears. Arrive curious, without the armor of certainty, the plans and the planned results of the life you imagined. Live the life that chooses you, new every breath, every blink of your astonished eyes. And so it is. Envisioning a new world. I invite you gently to close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Feel your body relaxing as you let go of plans for the future and memories of the past. And just rest in this present moment. Breathing slowly and deeply, feel the energy of life moving through every cell of your body, bringing a sense of aliveness, deep peace, and well-being. In your mind's eye, begin to imagine a new world unfolding before you, a world of justice, beauty, equality, and fulfillment for all, a co-creative culture, an empathic society. Take a moment to look around, see and feel the beauty of this new world. Now place yourself in this environment. Feel your being coming into perfect resonance with all your surroundings. Radiant, vibrant, centered, and whole. Now see yourself fulfilling your soul's purpose, expressing your mastery, sharing your gifts and talents. Notice what you're doing. Notice how this feels in your body. In this new world, every field of endeavor has shifted to a higher frequency. All of humanity is empowered and supported. Every true need is being fulfilled. There is plenty for everyone. Creativity abounds. The division between work and play is gone. What do you know about this co-creative culture, this compassionate society? Paint the picture of the world that you dream of creating. Share images and inspiration that arise out of the collective wisdom of this resonant field. Take another deep breath, relaxing into this feeling of satisfaction and deep peace. Know that as you envision, you are bringing this new culture into reality. Feel the radiance of your heart overflowing, sending love to all of life, to every village and city, to every member of our human family. Affirm that what you have seen, felt, and declared is happening now. Feel loving presence moving through you, rekindling hope, faith, and trust in all humanity. And now with another deep breath, just become aware of yourself seated and become present to this present moment. And just know with me the gift of that creativity that we have been bestowed by the divine. And just hold that in the silence and contemplate that. And together we say, and so it is.
Galileo's head was on the block. The crime was looking up the truth. And as the bombshells of my daily fears explode, I try to trace them to my youth. And then you had to bring up reincarnation over a couple of beers the other night. Now I'm serving time for mistakes made by another in another lifetime. How long till my soul gets it right? Can any human being ever reach that kind of light? I call on the resting soul of Galileo, king of night vision, king of insight. then I think about my fear of motion, which I never could explain. Some other fool across the ocean years ago must have crashed his little airplane. How long till my soul gets it right? Can any human being ever reach that kind of light? I call on the resting soul of Galileo, king of night vision, king of insight. I'm not making a joke, you know me, I take everything so seriously. If we wait for the time when all souls get it right, then at least I know there'll be no nuclear annihilation in my lifetime. I offer thanks to those before me. That's all I've got to say. Maybe you squandered big bucks in your lifetime. Now I've got to pay. But then again, it feels like some sort of inspiration to let the next life off the hook. She'll say, look at what I had to overcome from my last life. I think I'll write a book. How long till my soul gets it right? Can any human being ever reach the highest light? Except for Galileo, God rest his soul, king of night vision, king of insight. How long? How long?
On this day, does anyone know what happened? 5:15 a.m. San Francisco earthquake. 3,000 people lost their lives. Betty, by the way, don't leave. You were so good. Okay. So the San Francisco earthquake was this day. Also on this day, 1775. For those of you who don't read the Writer's Almanac every day online, on this day, 1775, was the famous ride of Paul Revere, made famous by Henry Wordsworth Longfellow. Listen, my children, and you shall hear the midnight ride of Paul Revere. It happened on this day in 1775. So then the other thing, and this is why I asked Lee to play that song of Galileo. Galileo is a personal hero of mine, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But not on this day, but April 12th, 1633, Galileo Galilei was brought before the Roman Inquisition on charges of heresy because he had the audacity to challenge the providing wisdom of the time that the earth was not the center of the universe, but was actually a heliocentric universe, and that the earth revolved around the sun. And I'll get into a little bit about that later. Why Galileo is so important to me is when I was young, I was a child actor for a period of time. And I share that because I think that early training is part of my resonance towards a man by the name of Neville Goddard that I talk about, because he also was in theater. But there's something about the training in theater that allows us to open our imagination, to move into different states of being and states of consciousness. Because I think in our culture, we don't cultivate imagination. We don't cultivate feeling. We don't cultivate the idea of stretching ourselves beyond our little bounds. You know, I was in the play Galileo Galilei. So when I say I was a child actor, it wasn't like I was in like grade school kind of things, and I wasn't like a Mouseketeer or something like that. But I worked in San Diego theaters. I worked at the Old Globe, the Shakespeare Festival. So I played things like, you know, Macduff's Son or a fairy, you know, in Midsummer Night's Dream, or childhood roles. I was also in a play called Waiting for Godot, which I think is my bend towards existentialism and where that goes. But I was in a play called Galileo Galilei, and I played the Grand Duke, and the Grand Duke was a child duke who was, you know, manipulated by the regents. And so I became very familiar. My childhood was spent taking on different roles and in different kind of costumes and in different kinds of settings. And so it was a very rich and fertile time with me. But I got to know and love Galileo because he was a polymath. And what I mean by that is he was a man who had this sort of encyclopedical learning. He had that need to know on several things. In fact, Albert Einstein really considers him the father of the scientific method and the father of modern physics, as does Stephen Hawking, because of the things that he worked and he studied. He studied gravity, he studied phases of Venus, he studied mathematics. In fact, it was Galileo who said that mathematics is the language of science. So he was this remarkable man during the time of the Renaissance, but he also was, he kind of liked to show off how smart he was, to the chagrin of the Jesuits and to the Pope. Because he was a champion of the Copernican philosophy or cosmology, he was brought under the eye of the Inquisition, finally tried by the Inquisition, and he spent the rest of his life under house arrest. He wasn't killed because they couldn't condemn him, but they certainly repressed him. But what the church basically said was this. Is they said that heliocentric view of the cosmos, which is that the sun is the center of the solar system, not the earth, was foolish and absurd and heretical since it contradicted Holy Scripture and the authority of the church. And so for that, he was imprisoned for the rest of his life. And it wasn't until 1992 that Pope John Paul said, maybe we were a little hasty. maybe we didn't have all the facts, and we meant well, but maybe we weren't. So we're really sorry about that house arrest thing. We'll build a statue for you, and hopefully you'll be done with that. But there he is, and the song says it so beautifully, right? Galileo's head was on the block. For what? For his crime was looking up at the truth. And I love this song. In fact, by the way, if I drop dead, please play it at my funeral. But Galileo's head was on the block for looking up at the truth. And then you think about, all the bombshells that go on in your own life, and how they, I do constantly, what was happening to me as a child, what was going on, what was that? And then you bring in the conversation of reincarnation, and that just opens up these whole other chapters, because I'm not saying that reincarnation is a doctrine, but this is what we know, is that intelligence is always seeking expression. And it continues. That aspect of who we are, that which is awareness, that which is consciousness, was never born and can never die, travels through time and space, and is always seeking some form of expression. Dr. Holmes, the founder of our teaching, he was very vague about it. He would say things like, I met too many people at their own funeral to believe in reincarnation. And then other times he says, I think maybe in my last life I was Emerson. So we don't know. It answers questions for me, but I don't want to nail myself up on a cross for anything at this point in time, because what science has taught, if science has taught us anything, it's taught us this, is that everything that we regard as true is eventually proven erroneous, because there's so much more to know, and that we haven't arrived at the end point yet. And the condemnation of the church to Galileo, they condemned him not because he was wrong, but because it was inconvenient to believe him. Because if they were to accept his teachings, it would be a game changer. They would have to reorganize their whole thought pattern, their whole way of politics, their whole way of commerce. It was too inconvenient for them to change. So Galileo was the one that was under house arrest. I've been reading this book lately. I picked up, it's a science fiction book, and it's called The Ministry of the Future. Kim Stanley Robinson is his name, but I know the book because I'm reading it. And the premise is, so this isn't a spoiler, but the premise is this: it's in the year 2023, and there's this incredible heat wave that hits India, and over the course of this 2-week remarkable, unprecedented heat wave, over 20 million people die. And And for the people of India, it's a game changer. They throw out their present form of government because they're finding that it's just absolutely ineffective, and they feel that they're on this on their own. And of course, the rest of the world is wringing their hands and offering thoughts and prayers, and essentially is doing nothing. And because, here's the deal. If they were to accept that catastrophic climate change, this particular heat wave that happened, was the result of human intervention in climate change, they would have to change. And that's just way too inconvenient. It's way too inconvenient for how we set up our political systems, our spiritual systems, our professional systems, our commerce, our economics. All that would have to change, and that's just too inconvenient. So it's best just to offer thoughts and prayers and wish that these things didn't happen, and then essentially do nothing. And it kind of reminds me of so much of what's happening in the world today. Once again, there was another mass shooting, and once again, everybody's offering thoughts and prayers, which is a nice way of saying, we ain't gonna do a damn thing, because it's too inconvenient for us to deal with the real issue. And the real issue is, why are we addicted to violence? Has nothing to do with guns or sticks or any of that kind of stuff. It has to do with a consciousness that somehow at the end of the day, that someone who's feeling alienated, someone who's feeling separate, someone who is obviously sick one way or the other, comes with this idea that violence is the best alternative to the situation that they're in. And that's the thing we don't want to deal with, because it's just too inconvenient. We would have to change. And my question for us, each of us here, is personally, what is going on in your life that it's time to change, that the truth is glaring right at you, but in order for you to do something would just be way too inconvenient. There's that wonderful line in Hamlet, William Shakespeare's play, where Hamlet is talking to his good friend Rosencrantz, and he says this, he says, "What's new?" And Rosencrantz answers, "None, my lord, but that the world has grown honest." And Hamlet replies, "Then doomsday is near." If there is honesty, then doomsday is near. Then change is afoot. Because again, if we think about our own lives, our own personal lives, if we're honest with ourselves, then that means to move from this disorder into a form of reorder means radical change. Carolyn Mason, her book, Why People Don't Heal, talks about this. She says, that most people who are ill don't want to heal. They don't want to heal. They just don't want to feel the pain. And I would add that is true with so many conditions, because most people don't really want prosperity. They just want to pay their rent. And many people don't want love. They just don't want to be alone. We don't really want to change. We just want the external to change, because in order for a person to heal, it means they have to do a serious inquiry into their life, or love, or prosperity, or whatever. It means that we have to examine ourselves and ask ourselves, what's my role in this? Where am I in going on with this? And what is it that I know needs to change? But what story do I tell myself that I don't change? Because it's just way too inconvenient. So, I know that that's true for me, and many of you have heard me tell the story, and I won't bore you with it today, but I had a life-changing event happen to me one day, stuck in traffic, listening to NPR, because I was listening to someone talk about why they were living on a toxic waste dump. And I thought to myself, who in their right mind would live in a toxic waste dump knowing that the toxins were going to kill them? And I wasn't living in a toxic waste dump, but I was in a job that was just as toxic, and I saw that in my life. but it was way too inconvenient for me to quit that job because I had a mortgage and I had a car payment and I had this and I had that. And so I listened to that because I thought to myself, oh my God, if there was a toxic waste dump that I was living on, I'd be out of there in a heartbeat. Except it was true and I wasn't. And I was telling myself a story about why that is. And don't we, to some degree, all do that? Because let's face it, the process of moving from disorder to reorder, where we all are today, means engagement. It means action. It means change. It means doing things differently from how we have done them. Elizabeth Gilbert says it very well in her own tongue-in-cheek way. She says this. She says, I have never seen any life transformation begin with the person in question finally getting tired of their own bullshit. Excuse my spiritual language there. But at some point, we get tired enough that says, okay, now I'm teachable. Now I'm willing to change. And what I would offer is, not 3 easy steps, but 3 things to consider when we're going through change. And the first is this, is to ask ourselves, essentially, where's Spirit leading me? Where is this divine intelligence? Where is it drawing me from to what? Where am I being able to go as I'm moving through this reorder of my life? And not to ignore that, but to change the direction of our attention. There was that beautiful line in the poem that Kurt shared with us this morning of just getting rid of the what ifs. What ifs is like one of the biggest power drains I know of, as is regret, as in questioning or wondering what if. There is no what if. There is only this is what is happening. Neville says this. He says, take your attention from being in prison and begin to feel yourself to be free. Feel it to the point where it is natural. The very second you do so, those prison bars will dissolve. Apply this same principle to any problem. So instead of looking at the problem and going into the what if or how do I or whatever, is to move into an experience that says, I have resolved this issue, and the wisdom that guided me is this. They talked about that, when they went to the moon the first time. They imagined themselves at the moon, and then they built back how they got there. So it's really engaging the power of the imagination. But what Neville says is the first thing to do is to focus on the experience of the thing being done, to viscerally begin to have that experience, because our feelings anchor memories into our body. It is how it works. Because when we have this experience and we allow ourselves to emotionally feel the thing that we desire, our body produces this rush of dopamine that just travels into every cell in our body and just awakens and enlivens it to this new experience. And it's from there that we find resolution. We don't find resolution in regret. And the second thing is this, to cut the ties that bind us. Over and over again, my spiritual practice lately has been this. I've been really sitting with the words of Jesus when in the prayer that he taught his disciples, where he says, and forgive us our debts as we forgive those whom we have indebted or placed in bondage to ourselves. So here's the question, y'all. Who are you holding debt to? Resentment. Some kind of energetic tie to them where you are holding them in bondage and not allowing them to be free or not allowing them to change. I wasn't going to share this, but I guess I will. So, one of the things that's been part of my spiritual practice is this, and try this at home. Never judge anyone you haven't prayed for first. Think about that. Don't judge anybody without first praying for them. So last week I was tooling up to to Seal Beach, and I was up on the 15, and there had been an accident a couple miles up the road, and I was sort of winding my way up there as we do, and I was going maybe 5 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour, something like that. And having been a person who rides motorcycles, I'm very vigilant about looking always, because people splitting lanes and doing what they do. And I was looking and I was watching, and I was creeping along, probably, like I said, 3 or 4 miles an hour, and maybe about 2 or 3 cars ahead of me, you could see where it was starting to move forward fast. And a group of motorcyclists came, and as they drove by, one of the guys reached out his hand and slapped my side rear view mirror off my car. Clean off. Boom. And I was dumbfounded. First of all, the absolute violence. But I mean, I was so startled I couldn't even grab my phone to take a picture. And then I thought about it, and then I remembered, guy, before you judge him, pray for him. Because who knows, maybe at the level of his own soul, perhaps no one has ever prayed for this man. And this was an entree into having someone pray for him. And so, I have a pricey deductible, but I'll tell you what, it's worth every penny to pay that for the lesson that this taught me. Because I knew that I did not want to hold resentment to this man. I didn't even know who he was. This was a totally impersonal experience, and I'm not going to hold a grudge to anybody, try as I might, but certainly somebody that I don't know anonymously. And it invited me to pray. And so, it's what I wrote in my journal was this. I says, in order to free ourselves, we must be willing to free anyone who we have indebted or placed in bondage to ourselves. And I'm reminding you of the words of Nelson Mandela when he was released from prison for his views towards apartheid. And as he walked out of prison, he said this, as I walked out the door toward the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew that if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I'd still be in prison. And what Neville says is this. He says, but to release a person from all condemnation is to free yourself so that you may rise to any level necessary there, and therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. The mind of Jesus as the Christ is that. No condemnation. And how would your life be if you were not holding condemnation towards any other individual or circumstance or past story? To live an absolutely undefended life. That's where our power lies. And I think in terms of, Emile Coué, and, Emile Coué was early 19th century metaphysicians. In fact, inspiration to the Beatles. Their song, It's Getting Better Every Day, right out of Emile Coué. But, this could almost be a mantra for all of us, which is this. Imagination is destiny. Say that. Imagination is destiny. And so where do we feed our mind? Where do we cultivate imagination? And because what Emile Coué says is, when imagination and the will clash, and you remember nature, whenever nature encounters an obstacle, it doesn't confront, it spirals. And what Coué says is this, he says, when imagination and will collide, imagination always wins. It's the most powerful tool we have. And so, this opening song, to imagine what a beautiful world, that's a spiritual practice. That's a spiritual practice. To cultivate, to practice mental hygiene by first allowing ourselves to be, is in that wonderful book, Racing in the Art of Racing in the Rain, right? Where the eyes go, the car follows. Where the eyes go, the car follows. I'll just leave it at that. Where the eyes go, the car follows. To focus in and experience the good that we desire. and to release from bondage any person, place, or story that we are holding indebted to us, and to forgive, and to remember the imagination is destiny. So with that, we just open ourselves to this infinite wisdom that surrounds us everywhere, that leads us, that guides us, that lures us into our good. It is universal, and we are an expression of that. And as we open to this imagination, we allow ourselves the experience of gratitude for that strength and that support that is there from us from any and all angles. And noticing the beauty that surrounds us, the wind in the trees, the sounds of others singing and celebrating, all that is, all the beauty that surrounds us reminds us there's one life, one presence, in and through and as all. It is a glorious day on the planet that I love. And so it is.
So I'm going to play a song that I wrote and released in January 2020, 2 months before the shutdown. And it's about getting out and traveling the world, ironically. So I wrote the song, recorded it, released it, and 2 months later, we weren't allowed to travel the world anymore. So it's about exactly that, envisioning that, using your imagination to kind of like hope for, this whole time I've been longing to get out there, explore the world, explore the country, but with all these shutdowns, you got to use your imagination. You got to have that, use it as hope. So that's why I've been playing this one this last year. And Betty's going to join me again with a lovely violin. And also, it felt fitting with Galileo. This is an explorer's song. So let's explore the world literally when we can, and kind of in our imagination as well. Searches high, searches low, looking for the things we should know. Makes it great when it's just so. If it's not right here, come on, let's go. We'll travel the world. She keeps her cool when the heat gets high. I just knew when she caught my eye. She's so humble, she wonders why. Why don't we talk about it in the sky? We'll travel the world, travel the world. It's your oyster, you're the pearl. To see her dance in the south of France. If ever there's a chance, we'll travel the world. Takes her time, makes it last. You wanna move forward, know your past. You put that wisdom straight into your system. What you wanna do, I'm glad you asked. We're traveling the world, travel the world. It's your oyster, you're the pearl. So exciting, just keep riding. I booked that flight, we'll travel the world. Hey, oh, yeah. We'll travel this world. Betty, what you got? She'll be the change, she got that plan. She gonna help the people understand. She talk to anyone in every land. I'm the luckiest man when she takes my hand. If something's wrong, she'll stand up strong. She makes things fun when she hums along. Honey, kick your feet up, we just got back. If you don't think I love her, you don't know Jack. We're traveling the world. Let's travel the world. Travel the world, yeah. Travel the world. We travel the world, travel the world. It's your oyster, you're the pearl. Bonjour, aloha, uppa cuppa, hola. Nowhere too far, we'll travel the world. Hey, oh, yeah. Let's travel this world. She searches high,
churches low, looking for the things we should know. Makes it great when it's just so-so. If it's not right here, come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go, Betty. Come on, let's go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Betty.
Perfect song for what I want to talk about next, which is, I'm going to change how we do this time a little bit today. I want to call this conscious investment, not giving. Because Lee was speaking to an external world, but I could take that song, and as I was listening, I turned it around, and that's within us. And this place, for me, I didn't really realize it till thinking about it today. I've been coming here 12 years. This place to me is such a special place in the process of my unfoldment. Looking at the journey that I've been on and the work that I continue to do, this place has been instrumental in that process that Carl Jung called the individuation process or awakening. And he says that he who looks outward dreams, but he who looks within awakens. And this place is a place to have that journey. And Rev called me at one point about becoming a practitioner, a PhD in yourself. But it's even bigger. And I hold this place in awe for what it means, and to be able to invest into it to perpetuate that opportunity for anybody who wants it, who's willing to look within, who's willing to do the work, who's willing to study and take that experience and bring it to the people in your life, and how much it enlivens you. The last sentence of this poem that I read this morning really spoke to me because, and I read it again, live the life that chooses you, new every breath, every blink of your astonished eyes. And I've just been of late in this place of gratitude and awe for this process that I've been going through. And this place has been a huge part of it. So I invite you to look at, in your giving, of looking at it as investing. And that not only can we invest through our service, but through our financial capabilities, we can perpetuate something that is truly amazing. And so I'm just truly grateful for that, to be able to have been a part of it for 12 years, to look forward going forward, and to be able to have a community to come to that is like-minded around these teachings. And so I just give thanks, and so it is. And if you choose to give here, we have a box in the back that you can deposit your check or cash or whatever you're going to give. So thank you.
Let us just breathe into this moment, knowing that day by day, in every way, our life is getting better and better and better. And that it's good. It's so good here. Our hearts are just filled with gratitude here in this neighborhood, in this community. And so we give thanks, we let it be, and so it is.